So I wanted to do a video kind of talking about what I've read this summer, what I plan on reading in the fall, and kind of what I am preparing to do on this channel. This summer I didn't quite get through as many books as I wanted to, only because for half the summer I went through a reading slump, and it wasn't like a bad reading slump, it was just that I got distracted with other things. And so now that I am out of that slump, I kind of wanted to go over what I did get to read this summer. And then we'll talk about what I want to read in the fall, kind of intermingled with what I want to show on this channel coming up. Out of breath. Wow. Okay. First, we will start with what I read this summer. So, most recently, I finished E. Lockhart's We Were Liars, and this book was great. I loved it. I could see why some people don't like it, because it's got a lot of like flowery writing. It's got a lot of like structural, stylistic choices that a lot of people probably think are pretentious. I, for one, was a huge Ellen Hopkins fan in middle school, so I eat that up. This book was a thriller, and one of the reasons I like thrillers is because I'm a very gullible person, so I usually can't usually the twists at the end always catch me by surprise because I never see them coming because I'm so gullible. And that was definitely the case with We Were Liars. It's about a family who owns a private vacation island, and they go there every summer, all summer. One summer something happens, and the main character doesn't remember what happened. And nobody is telling her what happened. I really like the amnesia trope when it's done well, and I think that it's done really well in this book. It's in a way that I haven't really seen before. At least I don't think I have. Maybe I have. But it's done really well in this book, and so I do recommend We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I also finished The Silent Patient by Alex... I don't know how you say his last name. Michael Leeds? Alex M. So The Silent Patient is another thriller. It's, again, I didn't see the twist coming because I'm so gullible. But there were definitely hints of it. So if you are way more clever than me, you might see the twist coming from a mile away. Could totally see that, but for somebody like me who is gullible to a fault, it was a good read. Not as good as We Were Liars, but still pretty up there. I did enjoy it. I read this because I heard about The Maidens and how The Maidens kind of wasn't very good, but the other book that this guy wrote, which was this one, was pretty good. So I did want to pick this one up and try it out. I probably won't read The Maidens, though. Recently, I also finished Daniel Green's novella, The Breach of Peace. And it's hard to kind of look at this objectively just because I do watch his videos. But I did enjoy it. It's a quick read. I like the novella pacing. Just because it just cuts out all of the other nonsense that nobody... Not that it's bad, but it's just a quick read to get you in between if you're in a series or something. That's why I like novellas. And this one in particular, I did like the husband and wife dynamic of the main characters. It was refreshing to read a romance that wasn't budding, if that makes sense. Like, it was nice to read an already established romance. I did enjoy that. There were, like, my issues with this were very minor, like words that just didn't, I don't want to say that they were like pulled from a thesaurus. I do think they are part of Green's vocabulary. I just, they seemed to, like, a little bit of a stretch to me. Like, they felt kind of out of place. And not that they were wrong words. They definitely weren't. This isn't a real example. I'm just trying to give you kind of an idea of what my thinking is. So, like, instead of saying a box, he would say something like, the square container. It's like, just say box. And so, like, those issues I had with it were kind of minor, and it only happened like 1 or 2 times that I picked up on. It didn't take away from the story at all. You just could kind of tell that it was his first published book. And so, one of the other things that I noticed too is a couple sentences here and there had a passive voice, which just really pulls me out. But aside from those 2 things, which are totally correctable, totally things that I'm sure that he's aware of and working on. So overall, I did enjoy it for a novella. It's got an interesting plot, but you can definitely tell that there is more to the story, which I think he has said that this is like almost like an extended prologue, I guess you could say, or a prequel. Which, if that's the case, then yes, this is good. I also read The Handmaid's Tale. I liked this book, but I don't gravitate towards dystopian typically, just because it stresses me out. It's like, especially this book. If it's the more realistic it is, the more it stresses me out. And the reason that I think that this one is so grounded in reality is because even in the introduction in my copy, she mentions how she only wanted to create the story with technologies and systems that have already existed in our world history. And so I think that that really grounded it in reality for me, and it made me super uncomfortable. Like, it's a book that's supposed to make you uncomfortable, so it definitely hit the nail on the head there. I did enjoy it. I do understand why it is sometimes required reading for some, like, classes and stuff like that. And I'm going to be honest, I probably never would have picked this up if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to watch the TV show, which I did start doing. Me and my husband are 1 episode away from ending season 1. I like the TV series. I like, I guess it's kind of expanding on some stuff, obviously. But, like, the deviations from the book to the TV don't bother me at all. I actually enjoy them. The deviations aren't like plot breaking or anything like that. This book isn't going to be for everybody. There's a lot of trigger warnings that go with this. I know this sounds weird, but I do like when an antagonist is deeply religious. I don't know why. I really enjoy that. I also really enjoyed that in Brandon Sanderson's Elantris. I really enjoyed it there too. But I do really enjoy religious antagonist. I think it adds depth, and I think it adds reasoning. Yeah, I just enjoy a good religious antagonist. And that's not like a qualm against religion by any stretch of the mind. I just like, for example, the White Cloaks in Wheel of Time, deeply religious, but not, some of them aren't zealots, and so it kind of adds depth to it. And if done well, like in Elantris, it can lead to really, really nice redemption arc. And I love redemption arcs. Obviously not in this book. I don't think there's a redemption arc from this, but, Another book that I read, or a book series that I read this summer, was the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Because my sister and I wanted to watch that TV show. She had never read the books either. I think she still hasn't read them yet. But, she owns them, and so I borrowed them from her to read them, so I don't have, the book to hold up or anything like that. But I really enjoyed that series. I wasn't on board with it at first. When I first started reading the first book, and I don't know if that first book is called Shadow and Bone or if it's called something else, I don't remember. But when I first started reading that first book, I wasn't really that into it. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was average. I didn't have any issues with it. It just didn't really hook me in. But I continued reading anyway. And the second book I felt was a lot better, and I actually ended up giving it 1 more star. So I gave it the second book 4 stars. The third book I remember enjoying the most, actually, surprisingly. There's one scene in particular in the third book which I really enjoyed just because I like the aesthetic of it. And I don't remember all the details. It's been a little bit. But In that scene, they are talking about how the trees all grow in rows like soldiers. And I just really thought that was a cool visual. And I ended up giving the third book 5 stars, which I don't typically do. I try and typically save 5 stars for like my favorites, but I just was so impressed by the growth of the author. You could definitely tell the growth of the author between the 3 books. And so I really appreciated that. So after I finished those books, my sister and I sat down and we started watching Shadow and Bone. I did not realize in the TV show that it also includes the Crooked Kingdoms duology with Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, I guess is the second one. So I am looking forward to read those, but I watched the TV show and finished it before I read them. So we'll see. I heard it's better than the Shadow and Bone trilogy, so I'm excited, but I'm trying to keep the bar low because you always get disappointed when you're excited over a book. So that is the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I also read Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere, and actually this is not the copy I read. I just started picking up these copies because I really like the the watercolors and stuff on them. I think they're really pretty. So the copy that I read is actually the blue and black one with the cityscape, but it's not my favorite Neil Gaiman book. Actually, I enjoyed it for sure. I always enjoy Neil Gaiman, but it wasn't my favorite, and I don't really know why. Urban fantasy isn't my favorite, but I don't hate it. I do like the concept, though. The concept is about a guy who suddenly nobody, remembers who he is. They look at him and then look away, and then they immediately forgot that they saw him. So I really like that concept. The what if everybody forgot who you were concept. I think it was executed pretty well. I just, again, am not a fan of the setting, and I think that was what did it for me. Overall, though, I it is still Neil Gaiman, so it is still a good book. So another book that I read, which I don't have with me because I loaned my copy out, was it's called Scratched, A Memoir in Perfection by Elizabeth Tallent, and I really enjoyed that book, but I didn't at first. It took me a while to get into, and the person who recommended it to me said that people either hate Elizabeth Tallent or they love Elizabeth Tallent, and there is no in between, and I would definitely agree with that sentiment. It took me a really long time to get into her voice. It was very jarring and it almost felt pretentious at first, but I stuck with it, and as I was kind of going through, I realized that it's not that it's pretentious, it's that it's chaotic, and I like that. It's chaotic, but it's still very grounded, and I know that that's an oxymoron, but that's the best way I can describe it. And so she writes in run-on sentences that sometimes will run on for a page or two, and each clause is like peeling back an onion. That's the best way I can describe it. Like Shrek, it's like peeling back an onion. Getting through each clause. It's almost like she uses the clauses as sentences, and then the actual sentence itself is the paragraph, which sounds really weird, but I did enjoy it. So it is a memoir book, and I do enjoy a good memoir, actually. I probably wouldn't recommend that book to everyone, only because, like I said, people either love it or hate it, and there is no in between. So I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to try it and see if which category you're in. I don't know how else to describe it, but I did enjoy her writing. I know she has other books, so I would be interested to see if the other books are as raw and chaotic as the memoir was. I did really enjoy that one. Okay, so This book is the book that I was reading right before I fell into the reading slump, and this is one of the very, very few books that I DNF'd, but not because I didn't like it, but just because it didn't click with me. And there wasn't any particular reason other than it just didn't interest me. I do think that it is a good book and it has its place, though, but I think it's a very niche book. And what I mean by that is that I feel like so when I stopped, I got about halfway through, and I feel like that the humor in this book, which is kind of its thing, the good bits of the humor were mainly in the first few chapters, and then it kind of like tapered down. And I understand that I only got halfway through, so take this with a grain of salt, but that's kind of the impression that I got from it. The other thing, too, is that while I do enjoy this kind of humor, I feel like this humor is the same kind of, like, humor that you would get, playing a session of Dungeons & Dragons, which, I'm actually wearing a Dungeons & Dragons t-shirt. I would recommend this book to somebody who came to me and was like, hey, I specifically want to read something with the same kind of humor that I feel while I'm making jokes around the table with my friends playing Dungeons and Dragons. Cool, I'm gonna recommend them this book. I don't know. Like, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed the humor, I did. It just didn't keep me engaged to get through it. When I finally kind of got out of my slump, I decided that I didn't want to finish it. Yeah, so not a bad book by any stretch of the mind. But it's a very niche book, so I actually forgot to record this, so if the camera angle is a little different, that's why. So I also over the summer read Dawn Shard, which is the second novella in the Stormlight Archive series. It did just come out in May? April? It came out in the spring, I think. And this one follows one of the characters whose name is eluding me right now. I forget. Anyway, this follows a couple characters, actually, and I actually am not a big fan of the Stormlight Archive novellas. I liked the first one, this one not so much. And that is because they are written in a way that they don't... You get more like character to it, I guess, but that's about it. It doesn't really advance the plot. I mean, it does, but it's like background stuff, if that makes sense. So, like, Brandon Sanderson writes these in a way that if you don't actually read the novellas, you're not missing anything when you're reading the main Stormlight Archive series, which is cool. For, those of us who don't read it, but why would he think that nobody's going to read the novellas if they're already a fan of the series? Doesn't quite make sense to me. I don't know. I've never picked up a series and been like, I want to read the series, but I don't want to read the prequel or the interspersed novellas. Like, I don't know. Anyway, but, so I read Dawn Shard. I was not a huge fan of this one, though I do like the Stormlight Archive series. Just this particular novella I was not the biggest fan of. Lopin. I didn't really care for what he was doing with his character. I get why he's doing it, and I get why he thought it was necessary. I just didn't necessarily agree with it. I don't know. I don't really like the Lopin character as a whole, and maybe that's a hot take, but I don't know. Like, I like the concept of Lopin. What I feel like he should be in my head is not what he is on the page, and that doesn't mean it's bad or that he's written poorly. It just is an opinion. So yeah, I did also read Dawn Shard. Meh. Wasn't... Meh. That's about all I can say about it. I don't know. I don't know. I read Dawn Shard, didn't care for it that much, but I do still like the Stormlight series, so I will still continue to read that. I didn't read the latest one yet. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do plan on reading that and continuing to read the Stormlight Archive series. And so when I do get around to doing that, I'll make a video about it. We'll talk about it then. So I think that is the majority of the books that I did through the summer. I did do a couple of rereads. I reread the first book in the Sword of Truth series. I reread Stephen King's memoir. And I think there was another book I reread, but I can't remember it. But so other than my rereads, that was pretty much all the books that I read over the summer. So I wanted to talk about what I plan to read in the fall. I don't necessarily mean to say that I will actually get to them in the fall, but these are just kind of the highest on my TBR right now. So I will start with what I am currently reading. What I am currently reading is this beast, which is House of Leaves, and the reason that I picked this one up is because I was recommended by a friend, and I wanted to start this immediately. I'm only like 20 pages in or something. But I wanted to start this immediately on good faith because my next TBR is actually the first book in the Wheel of Time, The Eye of the World. And I wanted to start a kind of read with me on this channel. And so the person who recommended me House of Leaves, I decided to read that because he is going to be reading The Wheel of Time with me on this channel. But the interesting thing is that he's never heard of it. He has never read it. He's never seen the TV show trailer. So I think it will be interesting to do a second read-through with him, with my second read-through opinions, and kind of talk about the book with his first read-through opinions and kind of compare notes. So I think that will be interesting, and I'm really excited to do that with a book buddy. But that is why I am currently reading House of Leaves. Now, House of Leaves, I haven't gotten too far into it, but it is a really weird book, and I wasn't prepared, but I'm excited about it because it is definitely going to get me in the fall Halloween kind of mood. It's just very odd, and I can't even really tell you anything about it other than sometimes there's fucking pages like this. I don't know what that means. I haven't gotten there yet, but it looks so interesting. And there's colored text and crossed out text, and every time you see the word house, it's blue, and I don't understand why. I just started it again. I'm on page 20, but I'm intrigued. It's mysterious, and so I like that mystery. The next book on my TBR, if I get to it, I wanted to read Misery, and I wanted to read it to kind of get into the Halloween season. Admittedly, the only Stephen King book I've ever read was his memoir, but I've read that 3 times. I don't know how to feel about Stephen King, but I think that this is the book I'm going to start with. I've heard really, really good things about this book. It's not that big, so it's not it. So I know that some people say that he's known for kind of his drivel, and I'm thinking that a shorter book might kind of cut some of that out. So I wanted to start with Misery. I heard it's a good story. I don't quite like the concept. I don't like the main character as a writer trope, but we'll see how that goes. So maybe I will get to this, maybe I won't, it depends. Unrelated, but some other things that I just recently picked up. Actually my receipt's still in it, the first Dresden Files book. I think this is the first one. Somebody told me this was the first one, and I just trusted them. So maybe I should actually check. Yes, so this is the first Dresden Files book. I always hear about it, but I've never gotten around to reading it, so I picked up the first one, and we'll see how that goes. I also picked up these two books by Madeline Miller because I really like the cover. I see them everywhere. I see the covers of them everywhere. I'm not on TikTok, but I think that this one is like from Book Talk. I don't know. I just see the covers everywhere, and I really like them. I really like mythology. I loved Neil Gaiman's Norse Gods, and if you have audio book service, I definitely recommend that. He read it himself. Hilarious. So I do like mythology stories, so I am going to hopefully at one point get through these two. Another book that I picked up just because I liked the cover was The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. I haven't heard anything about this book, like what it's about, and it's got a stupid sticker that you can't remove, but I did really like the artwork on the cover of this book, so I picked this one up, but that I don't know if I'll get to it this fall, but it is kind of on my list, on my radar. The other stuff that's kind of on my radar is N.K. Jemisin's Broken Earth trilogy. So I read the 100,000 Kingdoms. I really enjoyed the author's voice in that book. To me, it almost feels like it's like just on the cusp of like stream of consciousness, and I really like that style. I know a lot of people don't, and that it's chaotic, and I get it, I do, but you just kind of have to embrace the chaos. And even though this one wasn't fully wasn't fully stream of consciousness, it did kind of have that same like prattling feel to it, and I really liked it. I loved it. I did. I enjoyed it. She's got a very strong voice, and so I think that the Broken Earth trilogy I've heard is better than the 100,000 Kingdoms, so I'm excited about that. It is on my list to read. I just haven't gotten there yet. Another series that I want to start at some point, probably not for until I get through a couple others, but another series that I wanted to start was the Brent Weeks stuff, the Night Angel trilogy, or his other one, the what's it called? The Lightbringer trilogy. The Lightbringer series. That's on my to-do list too. Okay, so yeah, with that being said, next week I'm hoping that we can start reading the Wheel of Time together. If you want to read along with us, again, we're starting with the Eye of the World. We're just going to kind of read from Monday and go until Friday and see where we're at Friday, and then we will wrap that up. But the goal is to have the Wheel of Time done in 3 weeks, and then the other two books done in 2 weeks. So that's kind of our reading schedule for the Wheel of Time, preparing for the show. I am excited to kind of compare notes between a first read and a second read. I think it'll be interesting. This will be my first reread, so my second go through. So I actually picked up a nice big page copy because while I typically like mass market paperback just because they're all consistently the same size, they are so thick that it hurts to hold some of them. So I got a bigger copy just so that it would be more comfortable. The margins are nice and big so I can make notes on my second read through. So that was the only reason why I picked up another copy of it. This is my third Eye of the World copy, actually. But while I picked up this copy, my friend picked up the new copy. The new copy has the poster that they released with Maureen at the Waygate, and so that's really cool too. So we'll have both the kind of like the original, like timeless, most known cover arts, and then we'll have the new cover arts, which I think will be really cool. So yeah, we will see you in about a week.